Hello! Welcome back to the Technical Difficulties Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Smith.
And I am the special guest. I'm the other Jacob.
Blake. You are Blake.
I'm Blake.
Congratulations.
Hang
You
on.
said it was all you.
There we go. Oh, remove the headset and there we go.
It's not quite as
Almost.
massive glorious, but you know what? You're really getting there.
It's getting there.
I'll take it.
Come back in a few months.
So, as usual, we are going to do our typical figure out who's going to be asking a question. But we're going to be rolling dice apparently this time.
You guys can't quite see it, but it is there.
It's
It's right behind the thing.
Would you like to pick a die?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the blue one.
You want a blue one? Does this one roll high?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Alright, we're gonna roll off for it.
We did a test roll before.
No modifiers, just whoever gets the high roll asks the question.
Highest number.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, look, fair enough. Alright, I came prepared. We kind of ambushed him into this, and put on him when we arrived, and once we found out that he had nothing on tomorrow, decided that we were going to be changing up today's session of the podcast. So
Hey,
I
conscription.
have Jacob here with me at the moment. And Blake is actually here. He just didn't want to be talking with everyone. So instead he's made a stream.
He's not dead.
What a guy. Oh my god.
Oh!
Oh, damn. So I do want to point out that the current topic that I have in mind was supposed to be asked to Blake, because I wanted to get his insight on it. But Jacob here has been starting DMing himself, and so he may have his own unique insights onto this. And if we can get Blake in to, maybe give his insights at some point, we'll see how we go.
I have a different perspective.
Well, you do. Everyone's gonna have a different perspective, and that's kind of the beauty of it. So my question is, I personally feel like you can play a engaging and a really great game of D&D without combat. But the really hard part in doing that, or even playing a game with minimal combat, is how do you deal with the problem of experience and leveling up when you're not fighting monsters?
That is good actually. I personally have not encountered this problem before, but it is something I'm interested in.
Okay.
Because, the campaign I'm currently doing with its first time trying my best, and I'm getting better as I go along with it, and hopefully who knows, maybe I'll show up on here taking this DM seat. Hint, hint!
Oh, he's already putting himself in there. He's coming for your job, bro.
I'm coming.
Are you actually?
But yeah, usually the closest situation I can get to it would be just particularly creative ideas that are just out of the ballpark, like you wouldn't expect at all.
Yeah.
Like you as a person, as a DM, you can always just plan and plan and plan. But in the end, most likely the players are just going to come up with something you never expected, and then you're going to have to improvise everything else.
Definitely, but how do you work experience into that? Even if it's just you've gone 3 or 4 sessions where they've not had a combat. Like, let's say that they've gotten themselves into like a real piece of like political intrigue. They're in the king's castle, and they're trying to work their way through talking to people to progress, maybe to get to see a person of importance, or maybe they're trying to get information out of people, but they're not quite, they're not quite going with it, and they're putting up resistance. Would you just not grant experience for each session? Would you wait until the end of the entire
Quest
arc
Yeah.
and award experience there? What would be your...
Well, off the top of my head, the quickest fix I could think of is after certain situations where you might have a bit of planning ahead, because in this you'd have to have at least some knowledge of what each of these NPCs they're talking to has.
Yeah, of course.
So depending on whether which they succeed in what they have to do in getting that information, rewarding the group with that, or maybe the person, depending on who takes up the mantle.
Okay. So it would be more of a depending on the number of checks you've successfully navigated your way through, you might look at that, or how creative they've gotten in their encounters over the course.
Like, I support creativity, and I'm trying to support.
So do I. Look, I am all for roleplay. If there's no roleplay in a session, that's the session that I don't have fun in.
It's people really do like pure combat, but
of course. But you know, it's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to just kind of dungeon crawl and not quite do any role play. People want. Well, I would hope and think that most people want somewhat of a balance, but I know that we actually have gotten into a kind of a point where we've gone 3 sessions without real like actual combat. We've gotten into situations where we might fight something like last week's episode where we had the encounter with the Yeti. But we didn't actually fight it, we circumvented it, and we
via RP.
Yeah, well, we made it. We made our way out of that situation without actually having to fight it. So, I don't know. Like, would you do something at that point?
Ooh.
Sorry to butt in. 2 things. One, I noticed that you were having trouble deciding between the Pepsi Max or the milk, and I sure did put Oreos there for you to snack on.
Yeah.
Another question, sorry, is didn't I give you guys experience at the end of the session for not fighting the Yeti? Oh, well,
I figured you probably would have.
I was going to.
But it's also more of like how do you weight this? Like,
How do I weight it?
Yeah.
So the way I weight it against a monster is that if you're not going to fight it, generally I give out half of the experience, depending on what it is. If you, like, for instance, if it was a red dragon, the way you do you talked your way out of it, I would give you half the experience of what it's worth, just because you didn't kill it, but also you managed to persuade the red dragon not to attempt to kill you. It was technically less effort in the sense to earn the experience, but it was still a lot of dice rolling, a lot of checks, and a lot of luck to get through it.
It's also like that whole sense of high risk, high reward.
Yes.
Like, the high risk is actually fighting the thing, actually like killing it, and getting that full XP, while the other one is careful wordplay, which, depending on how difficult the person or creature is,
whatever it is
you're talking to, could be difficult. But either way, like, one has a risk of death, the other one.
I feel like it's always got a risk of death.
It's always, but
cat to a red dragon trying to.
One is like a lot more like guaranteed. It's either you win or you lose.
Yeah.
The other one is like you have a chance of having a middle ground, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because it's you don't know where it could go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Who knows? Maybe you'll work.
The decision tree goes from fight or don't fight to this ever branching mess of possibility.
The nightmare of
so that
player choice.
That gives us a way of dealing with circumventing encounters with monsters.
Yeah, you eat that biscuit.
What about in the other situation that I brought up, that maybe it's just a period of political intrigue, or maybe it's you've spent an entire session kind of information gathering and like finding out things that were really difficult to, like, you had to go through a lot of checks and you had to speak to all the right people at the right time in the right order to be able to put together this narrative. Would you then just say, okay, this was like a setup, or would you like a setup session, or would you, or 2 or 3 sessions, or would you do something at that point?
I personally would probably reward them a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're putting a lot of effort in there.
Yeah.
They're putting their focus onto this because they want to. Like, this is what they're seeking out. And it'd be nice if they got rewarded a bit extra.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they accomplished their goal, but if you didn't reward them, in this case, it's like they did all this, they got what they needed, and to not be rewarded with XP that they would have been given if they had just simply gone in, killed
Killing guns
everything.
blazing and killed everything. Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's a bit unfair.
Look, I don't see it as unfair. I don't think that XP should always be the reward. But I wanted to get some insight on how you felt about it, and I wanted to get some insight on how Blake felt about it. I understand. I know that we have a idea that we've already discussed before, myself and him, that at the end of a quest, no matter what the quest is, you get some amount of experience because you've just completed something. But I don't think we've ever actually discussed if something is really long form and it's like one of those talking quests that you would end up getting XP at the end of it for after 1 or 2 sessions. What if you ended up going, 5 or 6 sessions for this?
Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious because I've never come up against this when I was DMing. I've only DM'd maybe 3 or 4 sessions, and it didn't. So it never really progressed to that point. And this is kind of me trying to get some additional ideas on how to deal with that scenario, however unlikely it might be.
Yeah, that around that point you would have to go into the intricacies of each encounter they'd have. Possibly kind of building on the idea before of like with each check mark, it's like a bit of XP. Instead of rewarding it them right then, it could be added to the pool of the end of the thing.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I know that we, at least in our games, the way that Blake set it up and the way that we've run it pretty much the whole time last campaign was you only ever get experience at the end of a session unless you're in a dungeon. If you're in a dungeon, you get it as you complete puzzles or kill monsters, and that's just kind of like a home thing that we do, and it's how we've decided that it gets given out.
Yeah.
But I don't think even in our last campaign we ever really came to a point where we just didn't fight anything. Like there was just nothing to fight, no reason to fight. Because we were set into this set of events where the world was ending every session if we didn't go and stop whatever had come about at that point, whether that was the final fight or if it was fighting minions, saving a town from invasion, or we just found there was a session where we just fought a Draco Lich because it was swooping down over us, and we're like, okay, well, we can't leave that there.
It was it was a lot more combat focused, but it was still heckin' fun, and
It was good fun. It just brings up the question.
But that did actually remind me that the communicating that you would get the XP at the end.
Yeah,
that is important, because if you don't reward them after like they talk to the person or complete that task, if you don't reward them then, they might not be sure if they are rewarded at the end. It could be like if you don't explain that's where they got the extra XP. It could just be like some events that other events that had expired.
Transpired.
Yeah,
I bet what you're talking about.
That actually reward them instead of that small thing.
Well, I just want to intervene here. So I generally do that as a DM. Generally, when you guys do something, I always name why you got it. Especially if it's bonus experience, I explain why you got the bonus experience. That's the way that Alex's dad always did for us, so I followed the same rule. But if you want an answer for your question, in the way that I generally do this, I just had to remember the page number. You can go into the DMG right in front of you and look at page 84.
Ooh, fair enough. All right, there you go. He's got some. He's got an actual page number for how he deals with this. Because, like I said, I don't think we've ever actually come up on that kind of a period where we just haven't done combat. So And I know that we always get kind of pointed out, like, oh, when you did this, you got this much experience for it. But I've never really caught onto like a weighting or a venturing day XP. So an adjusted XP per day per character at each level. Okay, interesting. Is that what we're talking about?
So that's the table I generally use, depending on what I believe, because the way that challenge rating exists is stupid, and we've already understood that.
Oh yeah,
So
challenge rating doesn't make
depending
any sense.
on like the level of difficulty I believe something would be, that is the guideline I'm going to use. That's how I divvy out experience. Because if you think about it, when there was 5 or 6 of you, I'd go, oh yeah, you each get 50 experience. Because I thought it was a very, very low thing to do, which was in that book. It says the first level is 300 experience divided between all of you. And it's a good guideline to understand. Like, let's say you were to do the red dragon thing.
Yeah.
And remember how I said I give you half experience?
Yeah.
Well, it was like, let's say it was a full grown adult, and then I just go, yeah, that's level 20, right? And then if at level 20, I'm pretty sure it's 40,000 experience. So
Level 20 is 40,000.
So between all of you guys, that'd be 10,000 experience each, and that's a lot, especially at higher levels. That's a lot. So that's what helps me decide.
So I'm pretty sure with this table, I haven't actually quite gotten there yet. I would need the player's handbook. I'm pretty sure that these numbers actually, if you were to give them to one player, would just level them each time. At least for the first two, because for level 1 it's 300, which is the threshold to get to level 2. Level 2 is 600, 900 is the threshold to get to level 3. So is that how that's meant to work? I've not read this.
But the next one is like 2,700.
1,200, yeah.
No, yeah, but the level up is 2,700. So once you add that to that puts you to 2,000.
Okay.
So it isn't to level you up. It's meant to be divided. As you said it before, that's a table to divide between 6 people.
Yeah, okay.
But I just keep it as a whole total. Like if there's 5 people, it's still the same amount.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting because I've never gotten to this table in the book, so that actually does help with my question. Okay.
And
Cool.
another thing for those who are listening, like the DMG itself is guidelines. It's a good thing to follow, but if you're not happy with a rule or you want to do something different, it's open enough that you can change it, because as a DM, you can shape the systems and the world as you see fit. But it's just important to convey that to your players. Like if you change a major rule and you don't tell the players, and then eventually they come to you saying, hey, we want to do this, and you haven't stated before.
You know what? It's my favorite thing that you brought that up too, because we've spoken about this at length between myself and Blake, where if you don't like the entire player's handbook, toss it out, do your own thing. That is 100% your prerogative as the person running the game. I mean, at that point, you probably could find a different system that you like more. But like, you can just say, you know what, I don't like that, we're not doing it like that.
Yeah.
And there's something in this book that says this book is a guideline. I tried to look for it earlier because I've never actually had the page number down where it says it, or like the paragraph within which it says it. But it's in there. I've seen it before. And that's official published material that says if you don't like it, don't do it. So
Blue Infusion asks a question. How do you feel about giving separate players more experience depending on what they do? Does the experience go in the pot and get shared equally between all players? And I'm guessing the other one is, or does it go to the player that did?
Okay, so I have an opinion on this. Do you have an opinion on this before I say it?
I will hear yours first.
Okay, so look, I think that, and I get this very much from the campaign that I've already played. The long form campaign that we played before this one was actually my first time playing D&D. So a lot of what I know about it has come from that campaign. I 100% believe that if you had any part to play in an interaction, in a fight, in whatever, then you share in that experience and you share equally in it. However, if someone then goes out of their way to do something additional, whatever XP is allocated for that goes to that player because they're the one that did it.
Yeah.
And it promotes people going out of their way to try and play with the way that the rules work and to try and be creative or to do something more than what was expected. And so it's a really nice little bit of, okay, here, have an extra, 75 experience, like at lower levels.
Yeah.
It might even only be that at higher levels, but it's something that they can then put on their sheet and go, that's additional to what everyone else has, and they can feel good about the fact that that really cool thing that they went out and tried at great potential detriment to themselves,
It got
because it worked,
extra.
they got something for it.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. Well, pretty much all of it. It's a nice way of showing that what they did was like rewarded. Like it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah.
The thought that comes from that though is balancing, and
Yes.
if somebody is like, if they're putting a lot of effort in, or like they could be taking the spotlight a bit.
Yeah.
So it would have to be like up to the DM or even the players if it comes to a discussion or it needs to be discussed. It could be like we focus on some other characters for a bit.
Absolutely. You don't want people taking the spotlight.
Yeah.
But so when I said, like something that could be a great detriment to themselves, that's something I'd like to think of. So you were in the battle with the Red Dragon, and one of your party mates was down, and you've decided as, like, the character that you are, you've decided to swing along a rope to get over to there and basically take the attention of the dragon off of them.
Yeah.
You've put yourself right in the thick of it when you know that it's the most dangerous place to be, and you've done that in order to try and draw it away from your party member.
Yeah.
And like those kinds of heroics and
Things
that you could very well die doing this.
It's like a very action hero kind of scene. It's like it's a really high risk, high reward as it was before.
Absolutely. Rather than it just being, oh well, I'm the one that did the whole conversation with this important NPC, and I'm the reason why we got all that information, so I should get experience.
Yeah.
Where that can be something that you do give something extra for, but if it's done because they're like, oh, I know I can do this and I can farm some experience from it, I feel like it's got to, not always, but it should be something that you've noticed that they've done, and you're saying, look, I can tell that you're really role playing that moment that you were in, and you really got into the scene and into the character, and you basically left yourself behind there for a moment. Even if it's the shy person that's gone, okay, you know what, I've got an idea, why don't we try this?
Yeah.
You know what? Good on you for actually speaking up and putting your 2 cents in when you don't usually do it. Here, have some extra experience to kind of reward you for doing that.
It's literally the scene out of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, where
You remember the first one?
Yeah, where Professor McGonagall turns to Harry and Ron and goes, and 10 points to both of you for sheer dumb luck.
I was thinking you were gonna say Neville at the very end,
I could be that too.
where the points have started to tally out, and they're like, "Oh, look, we're even." Oh, and Neville, you get 10 points too. Bye.
Yeah, it could be that as well. But no, you're both right. If you actually had noticed that in the last campaign, there were points where people had way more experience than other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was just because of the acts they did. I think that you do get rewarded based, but you don't encourage it because of the fact of some people might do some things that were very stupid, that there were other ways around that they think try and get more experience.
Yeah.
So I think that the best way for you guys to just generally hand out experience as a dungeon master is always just understand, is it character development that just happened, is one way to look at it, or was it rewarding for an unbeatable situation, which has happened a lot of times when you don't think. I gave Jacob one time, I know it's really awkward to try and figure out who I'm talking about, but I'm talking about Jacob with the glasses, Jacob Smith. But the one thing that I gave out was that you guys were in the King's Castle, and I gave you experience for putting Azazel, the big bad guy. I gave you experience for you stopping the fight between him and allowing Kat to go through. Even though Kat got more experience than you still got a lot of experience for the fact of you completely
that little bit of, okay, you did something.
You did something extremely important.
Yeah, because I remember that, and that the whole end of that was absolutely the most embarrassing time. We spoke about this while we were doing our little campaign 1 recap on last Wednesday. That king did not have a lot of experience. Something that we never got into in that session was that I was alone in the room with the king for like a good 15 minutes in game. Just I was just biding my time. Because I was like, okay, this is going to be a fight, but I've got to wait for the rest of them to get here. So I was kind of standing there, asking. I had infiltrated. I was like, I changed my clothes to look like that of a guard, and so the king obviously doesn't oversee every single guard that has ever worked in the castle.
His nickname was Lambshanks.
Well, her name. But yeah, I was known as Lamb Shanks because I just succeeded a whole bunch of constitution rolls eating lamb shanks, and just absolutely tore through them. I was a hit with the rest of the guards. But yeah, I was standing there just kind of chatting with the king, okay, come on guys, get in here. We're gonna kill this mofo. Waiting, and then just at one point, that's you know what? I'm just gonna attack him with my whip and hit and dealt 1d4 of damage and killed him. So many opportunities.
I feel like I've heard that situation before.
I think you may have heard the story. We tell it a lot because it was just one of those moments where we're are you serious?
I don't think that one specifically, but it was the one where it hits some character hitting another character and killing them unexpectedly.
Oh, the Vicious Mockery?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That one will come up.
That will come up eventually.
Long story short, it was meant to be interrogation, but they decided to cast Vicious Mockery, and the person they were interrogating only had 1 hit point. Instead.
I wasn't part of that, ironically.
I wasn't part of that either. It was hilarious.
But it's become so well known now that everyone in our groups just know it.
It just became one of those things where we just started posting it in chats. Wait guys, this happened.
It's the legend of the Vicious Mockery incident.
It was awesome.
I don't believe much has been talked about of my campaign.
Yeah.
Because I was separate from you guys for a long time.
You were. I don't know if my character at the end, the start as well, I don't know if Narnia ever met your character.
I don't think so.
Because you weren't part of the final battle.
No, I was away that day.
Yeah, you were away that day. We had,
I was stuck into this
Blake had the, as the castle that we were fighting in was collapsing, you just kind of got buried under some rubble.
I was stuck.
So, by the time we had teleported our way in and arrived, you were already in the rubble. And then after Nylia had disappeared and gone on to rule limbo, after that, the rest of them fished you out of the rubble. So, my character just straight up never met yours.
It is sad that my character wasn't a part of the whole battle itself, but I do hold the treasured image of my character calling out of the rubble afterwards and saying, "Alright, we're ready to fight?"
Well, the thing is, your character was actually, your miniature was on that table the whole time.
It was the entire time.
For 8 hours, your character was there.
Afterwards. Oh my god.
Did you just dunk an Oreo when you were in?
I got very close and went, that's the wrong one.
Okay.
No, I'll just eat it.
Okay.
So, I've got 2 cups in front of me, one with milk, one with energy drink, and I very nearly just dunked it all.
Well, I have Pepsi and milk, and I could make a pill.
Yeah, but you can't really dip an Oreo in a can of Pepsi.
But I can't pour the Pepsi. I can create the forbidden pill.
Please don't.
Okay.
Well, this would be a good time because you have 2 players from the same current group, but 2 players from different groups from the first campaign. You could actually bring up questions that one of you guys might be able to answer from each other's sessions because both Jacobs is actually very rare for you guys to actually miss a session from your group. So you're actually
Except
able
when
to
I was
answer things.
captured and wasn't allowed to play for like a month.
Yeah.
Well, it could be.
Wait, was he part of all this?
During the part where you were captured.
Yeah.
No, his group.
Okay.
His group was doing other things. With
My question was gonna be what the fuck, but yeah, okay, fair enough.
No, his group was doing other things like fighting someone down a bell tower and stuff like that.
I remember
Okay,
that.
pray tell, what is the story?
Oh, my group is most of the people are quite gone, but they're still like we're quite gone, but they're still quite good friends. Like we keep in contact, and I know a lot of them. You guys know a lot of them. We play occasionally. But this situation, I can't remember every single detail because this was a while ago. I think in like 2019 was it? Give or
Dude,
take.
the campaign went for like 2 or 3 years.
The campaign ended in 2021
There you go.
and started in technically started at the beginning of 2019.
So yeah, probably a bit like
First campaign.
This campaign started in 2019 and ended in 2021.
No, I'm fairly certain that we went 14 months without playing.
We did,
yeah, that was
but it definitely ended in 2021. After the first
end
lockdown.
of 2019. Okay.
No, it started.
Wow, I have my timeline so messed up.
It's hard to remember anything from that.
It's so
time
long ago.
scale.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
Because you know the thing we can't talk about happened. Not in
Yeah.
D&D, the entire world.
Oh, yeah. No, we can talk about that. That's totally fine.
I keep forgetting.
What you're talking about is a fellow, if you remember his name, was Father Torin.
Oh, is this part? Was that you who did that? Your group?
Yeah.
Y'all brought him back to life?
Apparently so. So I can't remember.
Jacob, you brought it back to life.
I didn't bring him back to life. I killed him.
Oh no, it was your group because your group decided to turn back time.
Yeah. So a precursor to this, some shenanigans happened, and we had our hands on the deck of many things.
Lovely. I also had that at one point.
Yeah,
Fun.
that was a great experience. So
Good
some wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff happened.
Okay, Doctor Who.
And we ended up encountering a priest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we were investigating a problem of flesh golems. We had an experience of one, and that was just a cheery one. I'll tell you about that story of our first session one day. Oh. And we were in this town and trying to investigate, like, where was this information coming from? And eventually we were searching all around the town, and we got attacked, I believe. And we fought the attackers off. I can't remember what they were, but if I remember correctly, it was Drow?
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember them using the darkness spell.
No, it wasn't
No?
Drow. It was a warlock. Father Torin was a warlock. that you
Yeah,
had to fight.
I was trying to remember because there was a combat that preceded it.
Yes, that was against Father Torin.
Okay.
That's where one of the players actually got kidnapped, and so did one of your allies at the time.
And we didn't know at the time. So yeah, then we went to investigate the church by obviously breaking in at night. And we saw a mural to his wife
Okay.
and a mace. I believe we left it there. It was either that or it got stolen. Can't remember.
You set it on fire.
That's right. One of our characters burned the portrait because eventually we searched the entire place and encountered Father Torin. Of course, a battle ensued and we were going up a bell tower. because at the top of the bell tower was the captured people. If I remember correctly, was it me who was captured?
You were one of the people captured.
I was one of the people that was captured. And obviously, when I was released, being the barbarian, I did not appreciate that, and I started wailing on him. And eventually, he got a couple of us really hurt. I think one of us downed, and our companion at the time basically sacrificed themselves to kill Father Torn by either tackling him to send him all the way down the tower, or drop, like Assassin Creeding him from the top of the tower.
Do you remember what your companion's name was?
Yes, it was Barracus.
Wait, that was all linked? Okay, first of all, I want to know how Father Torn came back. Because he was my first villain.
I'm not sure how he came back specifically.
I can tell you this, actually. Because obviously I have to create the reason of why things could happen.
Yeah.
So, back in ReadySetRoll, you weren't there for this part. This is the stealth mission that everyone kept going on about. You remember that? So in the timeline that you originally had before they turned it back, because they started playing after you guys.
Yes.
So in that timeline, what happened was Father Torrent actually, where they killed him, they were leaving. They found a way to exit in this world, Limbo. And what the stealth mission was that they killed him one last time. And Father Torrent got murdered in that fight.
Yeah.
But in this timeline, it branched and created one where they didn't get there. They didn't do that. So technically, the stealth mission never happened. That's the branching timeline. So Father Torian did die the very first time.
Yeah.
You guys still did that. But if you remember when everything shifted at one point, and I just turned to him and go, "You never remember the stealth mission?"
Because I remember that. No, I remember you. I think you came to me specifically and said you remember everything that happened with Father Torin, but everything feels different now.
Yes, because you could feel presence.
His presence, because we were both connected through him.
Imrith. That's why everything felt different. You still remember killing him, but everything feels different again.
So what exactly brought him back though?
He found there's a gateway. So in theory,
He walked through a gateway.
Yeah, in theory, in my canon timelines, you would know this as well, Jacob. Where's Jacob?
He's gesturing.
In any of my planes, even in death, there is a gate to walk out. And Jacob, that one.
This one.
You would know because you've walked through one and also have walked out of one. Burnt in lava.
The wonderful adventures of being in the Nine Hells.
Yes.
That is another adventure that I will talk about, and that one is a lot fresher in my mind because you don't forget when your character walked through the Nine Hells. That was a good time.
Hey, that was
you get picked
I made friends.
one of our,
You get picked up by a Balor and he dunks you in lava.
That was good. I lived.
amazing.
I lived good.
That was actually one of our topics that we had. We were talking about what would you like to see in a campaign. I want to go plane hopping. So technically, you've already done that.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
I made friends. I'll tell you who the friend is later.
Tell us who the friend is now.
No, you'll have to get me on this show again. And then I'll tell you the grand tale of how I made friends with a
Are you talking the time that you handed the book to somebody?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I know which friend you're
The pink book. Oh,
yeah.
it's so wholesome.
You handed them the pink book and the key.
And the key.
I think he's already decided he likes being here.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience. Also, every time we do
It is good fun. Why do you think we've been doing it every week?
the Jacob joke is perfect.
It's the Jacob joke.
The Jacob joke. What's going on again?
I don't know.
Alright,
You brought this up.
how did you... the one thing I want to know is, how did all your characters meet?
In a tavern.
Wow.
Yeah, very
very classic
Very
adventuring.
classic, let's call it.
We'll look upon it informally.
We'll
Classic.
let's call it.
We'll look upon it informally.
So, my character, Nylia, and Delvin, our pirate captain, knew each other from a previous little quest that we had done for a small town. We killed a scarecrow and just kind of traveled together into the town. When we arrived in this tavern, someone from the village had come to try and, give thanks and brought us a whole bunch of copper and silver pieces. And, but hearing the money hit the table, the other two players heard it and were like, ooh, opportunity. One of them got pushed up against the wall with a knife to his throat by Delvin, and the other one was hidden within his backpack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is quite interesting. The original meaning of the first campaign that I had, or the original meaning of everyone coming together, wasn't as eventful to begin with, but it got more eventful as well.
Yeah. Oh, our first session was like straight action from the start. It was just infighting. We didn't know it wasn't infighting at that time, but yeah, it just started as player v player. It was.
I'm a lone wolf.
Yeah. The one that was meant to be the face, the one not in the backpack,
Yeah.
decided he wanted to tell us that he was a lone wolf and didn't want to come with us to make some coin when we offered.
That doesn't seem right.
So the wizard in the backpack got out of the backpack, slapped him up a bit, dragged him out, and then came to us and was like, "No, we want the job."
Correction. We
So-
want money.
Yeah. So their characters were meant to be. He called himself the Backpack Wizard.
Mhm.
So what it was meant to be was a ranger with an oversized backpack and a halfling wizard. In his backpack that would kind of like poke his head up, shoot spells, and then get back into the backpack so he'd have cover.
It's fantastic.
It never once happened in the campaign because from episode 1, he had to get out and come follow us and basically join the party.
Had to
We were like,
do it.
okay, fine, you don't want to join us? We're going to go and do this other quest that we've got.
Come with us or be damned.
Quite literally that. It was a time. We don't let Rob live that down. He's a lone wolf.
Wait, no, I want money. That's fantastic.
Wait, no, what money was Arthur? Yeah.
Have you asked me your question yet? Because Blake came in with the Father Tornums, but have you actually...
That was my question. What the hell happened with
The
Father
Father
Touring?
Tornum? I was just making sure.
You haven't asked me a question.
I did. How did you guys meet?
Oh, how we meet? Yeah. Okay,
Do you want us to keep asking questions?
We can. Dude, we can.
Do you guys want us to keep asking questions
If
about our old
anyone
time?
has questions about the campaign,
Yeah,
feel free to-
let's get some viewer interaction. Who wants to hear the next question?
I
What
want
the
to
hell
know
happened?
what happened with your friend in the Nine Hells.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
We're gonna have to wait. It's not gonna come through immediately. So come on, let's keep going.
We'll sit here drinking Pepsi and.
Oh, fine. I won't make you tell that story. What was your favorite moment in your campaign? Like your part of the campaign before the groups had to start coming together.
Technically, there was the first group I was part of because the thing that I had. I will
Yeah,
say
right.
it in a minute, but it's just
Either
teasing it.
rule.
It was actually one of my really nice ones that I really like and will always remember. But it was 2 periods of time where I was in technically 2 parties.
Mhm.
The first original one that eventually disbanded, and then the second one that I conjoined with because I was a part of the Forgotten Saturday campaign.
Yes. And then you joined the original Friday group.
Yeah, the Friday group because there used to be Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Oh yeah, he was overworked.
Yeah.
He did it to himself, but he was so fierce.
You thought it was a lot to have 2 campaigns. Dylan used to have 3.
Also, the Friday group played of a night, and the Saturday group played Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Which made it even worse.
Honestly, playing D&D in the morning was a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
It was
How did
wild.
that go for you? Like, what was?
You try waking up to play. You play D&D. You run a game. Then you
Yeah.
go straight to bed so you can wake up and run a session. And you guys would get there, and I'd still be asleep. I wake up, and then you guys bring me an energy drink, and then I sit down. I run a game.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. But how was playing of a morning from your perspective?
For me, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because around that time, I wasn't quite used to the time schedules that I had.
Okay.
I have now. But now it's a lot easier.
That's fair. Because I don't think we ever played of a daytime. Like, I think the earliest we ever started, like, Wednesday group,
It's
and
rather uncommon.
and
for everyone's
beforehand into when we were playing 3.5 originally,
Mm.
I think the earliest we played was like
schedules.
1 p.m. or something. Like,
Well, that's for you. Unlike Rob and Arthur, where I ran a 24-hour game.
yeah, but I'm talking about the
That sucked
like
ass.
my group. I've never played like early in the morning.
No,
So-
of course not. Because
Well,
do you think that you would get up early just to play D&D?
I would.
Touche.
Bro, you underestimate just how much I love playing this game. It's
Great. I would.
It's ridiculous.
When you said that 24-hour one, I was like, oh, that's tempting.
Oh, same, right? Oh my god.
Quick power nap in the corner.
Look, if I'm gonna do that, it's gonna be live streamed, and it's gonna be like a subathon.
Yeah.
That would
You
be,
heard him.
or a
He
charity
said
event.
he said if
So
he
fun.
does it, he's gonna make it exactly the same he has plans for. He's gonna do it.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, I'm Dibs being part of the group that does it.
Yeah. Alright, and have we gotten any suggestions for questions?
Just a
here?
story time stream. Come on,
Yeah.
tell us the story about your friend.
I'll tell a story, but I am curious. Have we gotten any questions?
No, just story time stream.
No problem. Story time it is. So, a bit of context. My group came into possession of a very important item. It was a key. You'll know keys are very important because it's integral to the antagonist's plan. So, to get rid of it, and also there was another plan to do something against the antagonist, we went to the Nine Hells. Now, there was a gate, so it was pretty easy. We just walked through. The side objective was to get out on time because that gate would eventually close.
Okay.
Because I think it was due to the efforts of the other group. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
You remember when Sol went and blew up a gate?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were in that.
Oh
That was
okay.
great.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
Yeah, we did some pretty stupid shit.
it was all good. So we had to make our way through multiple layers. It wasn't just the first layer. We had to keep going down.
Yep.
And the first one was we didn't get the names. It was the battlefield one, and that was fairly easy. We got through that one. Went through a second one was a bit worse. We encountered demons, of course. Ooh.
Do you remember the labyrinth?
Yes, I remember the labyrinth.
Yeah, that
I
was
think it was the
Baphomet.
third level.
Yeah, that was Baphomet's
Oh.
labyrinth.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
third
okay.
level was a giant maze, home to, as you'd expect, minotaurs. And so
Hell
we
yeah.
had to transverse the maze and try not to get cornered by a minotaur. We eventually got through it and got to the next level. I don't remember if it's this level or the next, but we eventually got to a level that was pure nothing. It was so strange, but as we kept going through,
How do you move through nothing?
it's kind of like the black boy. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I don't remember the intro, but eventually mushrooms started to appear, and we kept going through because we had to find another gate to go lower. And more mushrooms kept appearing, more and more and more, and then there's one mushroom in the form of a lady. As we saw the Zugmoy herself just show up.
Okay.
One of the big demons of hell literally owns that one, and they were rather cordial. So all we had to do is when we talked to them, we just wanted to get past and go lower. So we did that by basically telling her what the plan was. It was to get rid of the key and to go go and get something else or do something else. And surprisingly enough, they were kind of with it, because if the antagonist won, it caused problems for them.
Okay.
So that's what we saw.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, that's
Wait.
the demon prince of like decay and rotting and such, and mushrooms. Very lovely. So through a bit of conversation, we. Oh, yeah. There we go. We're seeing all the other demons. Hey, look, the antagonist. I'm leaving certain points. There we are.
That's even more terrifying.
Yeah. I'm leaving certain points of the story ambiguous, so Blake or somebody else can fill it in.
It's even more terrifying.
So obviously meeting because at this point we'd only met demons.
Yeah.
Or devils. Either way, we only met there were still like demons, there were still fiends, so it's not something to sneeze at. But we hadn't got to the point where we actually met one of the lords of hell.
Okay.
So yeah, big sip for those at home. But after a bit of conversation, we convinced or came to the agreement that if we came back in time, because at this point we realized that the gate would probably be closed by the time we got there, which was true because he blew it up.
You're welcome.
She would get us out.
Okay.
If we did this, completed it in a certain amount of time, she would get us out. And my character, being a innocent, wholesome boy that ate people sometimes. Spoiler alert: my character was a lizard folk. I loved playing him. He decided to give her a gift on his way out.
Mm-hmm.
A book.
Okay.
Now, if I remember correctly,
The little pink elephant.
little pink elephant.
Amazing.
He decided to give her a book because she was quite lonely in this void of absolute nothingness.
Okay.
And I didn't know what to expect from it. It was literally just, I'm gonna do this and see what happens. Could have ended horribly, but to my surprise, she turned around and said, "No one has given me a gift before." And I was like, "Oh, that's quite nice." And then, yeah, it's basically it either helped convince her fully or sweetened the deal a bit more. And that's how my lizard folk barbarian became friends with the demon prince like boy in the 4th or 5th layer of hell.
Amazing.
It's spectacular and I love it.
That's actually pretty awesome.
And that was my time.
This is when roleplay is awesome. Did you get XP for that?
I think so.
Like a shit ton?
Not a whole, like, a lot. I did. I'm pretty sure I did get some.
You guys leveled from that.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. And this was my time in the second group.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's
Cool.
when we were decently high level.
I turned you off instead of me on. Lumen Fusion asked, who won the roll-off at the beginning? What was the topic of the loser?
Oh, that was the top of the menu.
I won the roll-off, which is why I was asking about non-combat encounters and how each of them would go about awarding experience for things that are like sufficiently hard. Because honestly, I had no idea what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
What would your topic have been?
My question is a little. I think I came up with a different one, but I'm
I
defining.
was going to say you coming up with this topic off the top of your head. I am.
No, I did have this one. Is how to successfully portray the unknown, because at this time, a lot of people are starting to read the books. Like, I know a couple of the players, like Dylan, we've been buying the books, we've been reading them.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard thing to do as a DM, to give the players who are interested and read the books, because you can't particularly say you can't read this.
Yeah.
It's to give them something they haven't seen before.
Okay.
So, something that I did that all have been doing in my campaign is just retexturing it
Okay.
Like, it has the stats of this, it does what it is, but it's not what it looks like.
Okay.
So, it's a pleasant surprise, such as in the last session, when we encountered the Yeti. Of course, I wasn't awake at the time, but I was panicking because I had no idea what it was. I suspected it was a Yeti, but when you mentioned the horns and purple
That
hands,
got me too.
it's like, I'm not sure what this is. Because when you think of a Yeti, you don't think horns and purple hands.
That's why I went on when I was explaining that. I actually went on and focused on those two parts specifically.
Yeah.
If I mentioned a white fur coat,
Yeah,
I
then
would have pushed it off.
Immediately.
And like,
But I never mentioned that
exactly.
because it's
So-
dark.
There's a there's like a forest spirit. It's like a folklore thing. It's like a forest spirit of it's like a horned, obviously, but sort of humanoid top, and like a formed of like tree parts, and it ends up being somewhat of like a centaur, but it's got multiple arms as well. Can't remember the name of it. I watched a movie on it. Long story short.
The ritual?
No, not the ritual. They're like stuck out in the forest, and
And they're hiking?
actually, is it the ritual?
I think it,
Anyway.
on Netflix.
Might have been.
Might have been.
But all I thought of was this terrifying freaking creature when he's like, oh yeah, so it's standing like this, holding trees, and you see these horns. Like, I was expecting something very like humanoid from at least the head down.
Does it look like
So
that?
it's got these horns coming through.
I can't.
Not that, no.
That looks horrifying from what I can see.
That's the Wild Hunt Reclaimer that we had a fan of the show send us, and we went through and went through. It was crazy.
Oh,
This thing is nuts.
I have not got to the point of like discussing homebrew creatures just yet. I would like to.
But anyway, continue.
It is the ritual, yes.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
So-
Really nice subtle horror and some really nice outright horror.
Insane.
Yeah, it's extremely unnerving.
But that's what I was picturing.
Yeah.
That thing. He's like, yeah, so it's standing there with its arms out, holding the thing. So I'm thinking of like, not like it's holding the trees. Like I'm
Kind of
picturing
like
these,
pushing
these,
out.
like these arms that are kind of like
Yeah.
malpositioned and like out in weird ways, and it's holding it there. And it's just kind of like
It's that
staring at us. It's got these massive horns coming.
it's that fun it's that fun technique of letting the imagination run wild. Because
Yes.
as soon as you like literally give a name, like give it a too much information of the creature, the more we learn of it, the less we're frightened of it.
Yes.
Right now, still scared of the Yeti because obviously, as soon as I heard of the Yeti, I had the thought to like, oh yeah, I'll go see what's up. But no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
'Cause I like the idea of actually being frightened. I don't know what this thing can do, and I really hope I don't see what it can do.
Well, another thing is that you both don't think you'll be fighting the Yeti next session, or even seeing the Yeti being in the town.
That's that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't even know if it is
So
really.
the thing is what could it be then? Because you've heard of long arms, you've heard of people getting pierced through the chest, seen very similar style of marks on the walls, but that's the whole point. I've thrown one
big.
monster at you that you had to guess it's scary. It's gotten two players just immediately thinking the Yeti, but I've thrown the illusion of something that
It could be.
it is something so common.
It's this thing
And
from the
I've-
freaking ritual, isn't it?
No.
No,
It is now.
but it is something so common that I am so glad that I am surprising you.
Okay.
I have myself, I have thrown things at people when they're not expecting it. Not more or less for like a shock factor, but more or less it's like, oh, I wasn't ready for this. For instance, it's like the flesh golem.
The flesh.
Like you weren't expecting that at your level, but that I also feel like that's another thing that throws players off is when a player believes that when they start reading, they're like, oh yeah, this is a challenge rating this. We wouldn't be fighting this. But they don't understand that once the DM understands what the monsters do, because you guys, 4 of you fought that flesh golem, and it's a challenge rating 5, and you were all level 1.
Ah.
Yes.
I might as well tell the story of that. This was first session as my character, and I'll just say the name. His name was technically Darastrix, but due to a strange communication, it became Strix, or to some people, Styx. So his name kept getting simplified more and more, but we just ended up, it was mostly in the medium ground of Strix. I was saying Darastrix is a word mouthful. So he was a tribal. The actual story of what he was doing, I'll get into later. But he was a barbarian lizard folk. He was very stereotypical, but I loved playing him. It's great. And this was the first session, and we were all in the town center. There was a sort of a festival going on. Now we had all kind of come together. Like we've already had like the classic tavern scene.
Yeah.
Of like all coming together and starting to work together. I can't remember what the plot hook aside from that was. It was probably either Strix's quest or one of the others. But on this stage was like a presentation of like, a couple of things.
Your plot hook was that you were investigating.
That's right. Murders, because people were dying.
Murders are fun.
Exactly. And there was this presentation, and we had met this character before, an NPC who owned a spell shop / like scroll shop. And I don't remember his name specifically, but he was a gnome. So a small guy. It was pretty unassuming. So when he came up to the thing, we didn't really know what to expect, but when he brought up this big box, and he was like, and now I have such and such, like he did a small little monologue, and when he opened it, last thing we were expecting to come out of that box was a bloody flesh golem.
Yes.
Obviously, everyone started to panic, including the civilians, as he just ran off and the flesh golem started doing its work. And as one of the characters so lovely realized, its head was the missing person that we were looking for. Because, flesh golem, you gotta get that meat somewhere.
Yeah.
So we figured out the mystery of who was killing everything, and unfortunately found out where the bodies were. So, yeah, the bodies started killing people. And this was the first time I was playing a barbarian. And I wasn't in the groove yet of trying to figure out how to play this barbarian.
Yeah.
So instead of the classic rage, go in, hit thing, I screamed out to everyone, "This is not our fight!" Because I was trying to be tactical, because I saw a flesh golem and was like, I can't fight that.
Yeah.
Of course, the rogue and, I believe, bloodhunter at the time did try and fight it.
What do you mean try? They won.
They did. In the end, they did win. Because I believe...
Did you not join?
I got knocked out.
Okay.
And so did another player who I had went to God to save him.
The sorcerer.
The sorcerer.
And then another sorcerer
And then
died.
the other sorcerer who tried to do... And there's a running joke about chromatic orb that I'll get into. Tried to face the flesh giant. And the flesh giant rolled a natural 20 and killed him in one shot.
You gotta remember the line before that. Don't worry, guys. I've got this.
And ever since then, it's become a running gag. Don't worry, guys. I got this. Proceeded by doing something. And if it wins, success. If it doesn't, it happened again. Amazing. So, yeah, got smushed into a building like a pancake.
Amazing.
So, first session, one of the characters died. It was fantastic.
No, it wasn't the first session. I think that was the third.
Was it?
Yeah, because you're doing the investigation for a bit. So the
Oh,
first
right.
session was you guys meeting up with each other and understanding who you were.
Dangerous
During
session.
it, you found someone dead.
Yeah,
and
we
that's
found
kinda
something
how it happened.
dead.
And then the second session was you guys getting ready for the festival. And one of the players, accidentally knocked out the storekeeper with a stick. And
Right, we did a bit of espionage into his place to see if it was him. Didn't find any evidence that was him, and it was him.
Well, there you go. You didn't investigate enough, did you?
well, no, it's because they went and investigated the blacksmith instead.
Yeah.
And they took that, and then they went to investigate him, but the rogue was picklocking to go to that house.
Gotcha.
So we
So
couldn't
by the
afford-
time they went to go investigate him, it wasn't a time where they could have snuck deeper.
Gotcha.
So they chose the wrong person to investigate because there was 2 possibilities.
Funny enough, the rogue did steal a flame tongue from the blacksmith, and that probably won the battle because although it was a golem, so magic was a bit weird on it, but flames did fine.
No. If you get I have a philosophy as a DM. If you're gonna start a fight that you believe is harder, always plan to something that's always gonna tip the fight in their favor. It might not be there right in front of him, but it might be about 5 sessions earlier that it exists. And if they don't take it, then it might not. It's like for instance, the Remoraz shield that I kept noticing that spit out fire against something that's gonna be cold. It's something like that. But so that's why I put it there. So the fight was 100%. If you grabbed it, it was 100% winnable. Didn't grab it, then it was about 50.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
He's pretty good at doing that.
yeah, it was.
I study my fights. Anyway, we have a question.
Ooh.
Again, Blue Infusion asks, in session 0, as a DM, do you believe you should tell the players what will happen in the campaign, and the fun is experiencing the story as a character, or tell nothing and have the story be a secret to the players, and the fun is the experience of the unexpected, or in between each other?
Oh, that's hard because I like all of them.
Yeah.
Because there's the aspect of telling them the story, and that one is that one you can have a lot more control on, and it's a lot easier to do, and people can still have fun with it. It's like getting a set goal, set like kind of things, so you don't have to worry about it in nitty gritty of it. Like say all your characters are on this expedition to explore this infinite labyrinth.
Yeah.
Their goal is to find or kill or something in this labyrinth, and it could be as long or short as you want, and it gives the players a set goal, a set reason to be there, and it's a controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
Or slightly altered to somewhere in between is your characters have motivation to go into the labyrinth, but there's no set goal in it. And then the last one is the labyrinth is there, and your characters are introduced beforehand, and it's like lead up to the labyrinth.
Yeah.
And then their own personal intrigue brings them deeper.
So I feel
It's like a level of how much control you have over the situation, how much agency they have, and how much freedom they have. Because who knows, maybe the players, if they so wished, could completely ignore the labyrinth.
Yes.
And maybe do something on the
I
outside.
feel like the first one is really good for one-shots.
Exactly.
We're like, okay, go in, find the thing,
They all have their
and
pros and
that's
cons.
your mission. Like, it's like running the Tomb of Horrors, and you're like, okay, make a level 20 character, make it as broken as you can possibly think, see how far you can get into.
Yeah.
Like, that's like really great idea for like a one-shot of doing that kind of thing. When you're playing an open world campaign or something along those lines, I do think you always have to give them some kind of an idea
Like a
of the setting.
provocation. Oh, yeah.
But not so much, okay, so this is the story.
Mm.
Because it means that you can't come up with the story on the fly.
Mm.
You can't, like, I'm starting to think of myself as like a plant. Like, I'll plan out large swaths of the story, and allow things to move as they will, and come up with side quests and things on the fly. And whenever they decide that they're coming back into this storyline, it'll allow it to progress, like in such a way that I have as much as I possibly can plan for already done on the side, without trying to railroad.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it should be a matter of, okay, this is what you're doing, this is where you're going, and this is... So it shouldn't be that you just experience that story as a player. Because if you're going to do that, you might as well just go and run a pre-written campaign, like 3, 4, 5 times and see what kind of weird and wacky ways you can complete it in, right? If you're going to be building your own world, I think the fun is in exploring the world and exploring it together. When they do something that's totally left field, you're like, okay, I guess this is here. Let's end the session so I can actually go and figure out what's here.
Yeah.
So I don't think it should be a matter of this is everything. This is everything you could possibly need to know. Yeah, obviously you have to have some kind of idea of what you're getting into.
Yeah.
The campaign that I was trying to run, I've always really enjoyed the idea of curses
Yeah.
in the game. I think they're a really underused mechanic because as soon as you hit level 5, just about every spellcaster gets access to remove curse.
Yeah.
So, cool. Alright, if I try and play with a curse, they're just going to remove curse and then there's no real story here. So what I was intending was for remove curse can be used to remove curses, as it would suggest, but they're bound to specific things. So in order to remove the curse with the spell, you would first have to weaken the curse by doing like a short quest or something. So you could kind of circumvent the end part of it, but you had to get at least a certain distance into breaking it on your own before you could use that shortcut.
Yeah. And it's like instead of just snap and then it's gone. You want to put a bit of effort so it has more gravity when it happens.
Yeah. So that was the rule 0 thing that I told them. I was like, okay, look, I want to try and play around with curse. Remove curse will work, but it won't work 100% of the way. And so, funnily enough, no one went near anything that I had already pre-set up to be anything relevant to it, and I feel like it was because I'd already given them this idea of things are cursed in this world, and they're like, yeah, okay, you've described something which is kind of ominous, which some of them weren't actually cursed. I was throwing things left and right so I could keep describing things that seemed like they might have been, but they just went near none of them. Like, cool, stay on the road, in the middle of the road, in single files with no one strays anywhere.
Well, again, it wasn't a lot like that. It's just because we did that because the first town you just put us in fucked with it.
Oh yeah.
Like, I almost completed the whole thing in the first 10 minutes.
You did.
And then for some reason I was on a train where, I was trying to figure it out and I was really far off what he had planned, but then I almost just stopped it.
Yeah, he straight up nearly figured it out from the get-go. So in the original town that they were in, the whole thing was an illusion. They were actually in the middle of the forest, but it was a grand illusion that was set to a star stuck in the ground, which in the middle of the town, this illusory town, there was a fountain. And so the fountain, the middle of it, was what was concealing the staff. So he actually went to the fountain at one point. He's like, okay, half of this is interactable, half of it isn't. Things don't really make sense. He's like, I'm going to try and play around with the water and see how it interacts. So I'm going to put my sword into it. Okay, cool. You put your sword into the water. Like, yeah, I'm just going to move it around in there and blah, blah, blah. And because he said I'm moving around in the water, he narrowly missed, flailing his sword into this staff, breaking the whole illusion.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Also, we have a clarification, a question on top of the question we already had. If you'd like to know, Blue Infusion, as your question is, and I'll be the first to answer it. It says, as a player, would you like to know the story so you can tailor your character to the themes? If you'd like to know, Blue Infusion, I don't know what being a player is like, so I will say, I don't know. But in my honest opinion, I enjoy having the freedom of creating a character, but I'll explain my theory about that question in a moment. But that is the question. As a player, would you like to know the story so you can tailor a character to the themes before playing?
Personally, I would like not the whole story. Like there's the story and then there's like the world.
Yeah.
I'd like to know a bit about the world as much as my character would know. The whole thing I do is I'd have the character concept and then through work with the DM alter it to better fit in the world.
So basically, what we've done for this campaign.
What I've done for this campaign, because from the get-go, I wanted to play a tiefling warlock.
Yep.
Who the specific circumstances were kind of like altered and evolved into the thing. And my character did eventually fit into it. So, not so much the story. In this case, it would be the story of what we're doing currently.
Yeah.
I didn't want to know like much about it at all, unless I had to. All I really got was I was walking into a town.
Yep.
And that was all that was.
So I think with this campaign, it was a little bit easier for us because we knew the world that we were walking into.
Yes.
It's the same one as the last campaign, and we
Things
were
have
given a little
changed.
bit of backstory on this is where the world's at now.
Yeah.
We're with all of the continents are kind of divided into their own separate
Belief
factions
systems
and
all
belief
this.
systems and.
And it was all due to this, like, the
Yeah,
event.
so I think it kind of made it a bit easier, but I do agree with you that I want to know a little bit about the world, which is basically where we were given the brief of this is the world currently.
Exactly.
You already know the world. This is where it's at currently at the time that you're playing this campaign. That being said, though, with our first campaign, like the previous one,
Yeah.
we were just told, hey, make a character. Like, at least for my group.
Yeah. Well, no, it was
And-
actually the same with mine as well.
Yeah, and that character was just input into the world. We didn't know anything about the world. I don't even remember getting any kind of a backstory onto where we were, what was the planet called, like, nothing. I didn't know. I think I knew. I'd seen a map after I created my character,
Yeah.
and Blake said, "Okay, point to where you're from."
That's very similar to what happened to mine. Because fun fact, my character and the rogue of my first party were the only lizard folk, and we were the first lizard folk.
Mhm.
So the rogue was actually not even related to the things because his story was a bit different. He grew up somewhere else. My lizard folk grew up with the other lizard folk, and I had a general story, which was pointed out to me later on, that was very Fallout 1-ish, was we were having a necromancer problem on the home island, and it was affecting all the tribes.
Yeah.
So the tribes sent out warriors out into the world, because at that point they'd been very isolationist, but they had sent them out to the world to find something that would help them.
Okay.
That's why my character was out. He was searching specifically for either strong people or strong artifacts that he could use back at home. That's where he came into contact with everyone else. He saw another lizard folk being the rogue and got friendly, and that's how the interactions and the cohesiveness of the party began.
Yeah.
And that's how my character was introduced into this and how everything went. And all I was told about the world too, which we did work in favor, but continuing on, was this is where you're from, and it was Mistgard.
Yeah.
This island, it was all swampy, classic lizard folk kind of place. And I had only been out in the world for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I'd been learning some things like common. I already had learned common, but it was broken common.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
I do remember that.
That
actually.
was.
So
Well, you were still speaking broken common all the way to the end of the campaign.
Because it kind of evolved to the fact that lizard folk don't really human like humans.
Well, also don't have the same jaw structure as most
That's something you don't have to worry about too much.
So, to answer that question, so as a player, would you like to know the story so you can tailor a character around, character to the themes? One thing I generally do as a DM is, for instance, Mistgard. That didn't exist until your character did. That day that we did it, I picked a place and said, "That's it now." So I made that place completely for you. I tailored it to you. The reason why the first campaign the way it did was because it was completely free. There was nothing like this current. There were no global war stuff.
This was a world built by the players as well.
It's 100%, because that's the one thing I said since day one. You guys had the most influence. It was whatever you do to this will affect it forever. That's why Poland stuff's happened there for you.
Which is why you had to burn Volm to the ground twice because we wouldn't fucking leave.
It's not just that. It's because you brought the danger with it.
Yeah.
But also another thing is like when you go back to Zendikar, or when you go back, even if you do ever go back to Misgard, you'll see it be completely different because of the ending. Because one thing I asked my players to set a precedence for campaign 2 was this: what do you wish for your characters to be doing?
Your old characters.
Yeah. And the thing is, you started something in your tribe, and now Misgard is completely different. It actually coexists with the humans that live on there now, and they are still tribal, but they are learning. They're actually more ever. For you, your character is literally a god. So
Very different world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, funnily enough, didn't get to do the thing that I was going to say I wanted to do at the end of the campaign.
Which is unfortunate.
Which was rebuild Volan. No one went back and rebuilt Volan. That's what my character was meant to do.
No, that was the second thing you were going to do. The first thing you were was to become a guard onto me.
No, I was going to go back. I was going to go back there after I rebuilt Volan. I was 100% doing that.
Well, if you'd like to know, there has been they have passed in one of the sessions. They almost passed a room, like the lunchroom when they were walking through the guards, and there is a plaque of
amazing.
lamb shanks.
Amazing. That's incredible.
So,
I love it.
But yes, the way I run the games is that I prefer my players to I talk to them about a lot of things. This campaign was a lot different than the first one we did, because the last one was I sat down with you and said create a character. This time I sat down with you and I went in depth with a lot of stuff. And I spoke to you guys about a lot of stuff. I recorded it too, but I deleted it all by accident. But so I'm winging it as a DM again. That was meant to help me, but it's like you left your backstory in the palm of my hands. And the funny thing is like everything I talk about your backstory, I talk to him about, and he knows like a lot of my ideas about. I change them all the time, but it does exist, and the president exists, and it's even like for your character and your backstory and where you were from, what you had to deal with it. Your characters actually technically have, except for yours because of the way you've done your backstory, but other characters have such an existence in the world prior than you tavern. You know people, and it's not things that you write up to me. It was things that we wrote down. For instance, in the Wednesday group, Jordan's character is a prince, and they're in the town they're in. So he knows every ruler on every island.
Oh, he actually knows all.
He knows all of them.
Cool.
There's only a few that he doesn't, which is ones that no one knows. He knows where the dragon ships, their territories now, and what they're doing. He understands their neutrality, so understanding who's neutral, who's against like the other breed stuff. He knows all that, and you know, he has the ability to understand that. He understands who's allies and who's not, and that's how in depth his character is in the world.
My character's the complete opposite of that.
Yes,
you are
nothing.
That character knows like nearly everything.
So Maddie with her
doesn't know their name.
Maddie with her father's backstory, she's I'm gonna say like when it comes to one-on-one time with me and her, because we're just being us instead of like, you know, doing D stuff, because it consumes my life. So she doesn't want to hear about it. Dylan went through and he understands what part of the wars he's seen from campaign 1 who the battalion was, what happened. Did he ever see the first characters from the campaign? And he did multiple times. He saw them. When he saw Sol getting pretty much pushed around by Grazit before Jalaxel pretty much sacrificed himself in front of it. That's when you met Jalaxel in the Nine Hells.
I could have mentioned that. We
and
met
then
people there.
Also, there was the part where he remembers where there was a Androsphinx and a copper dragon just fighting all the drows, and he's seen Nylia just pumping Eldritch Blast. And then he ran through the portal, so he didn't see Soul go, oh yeah, Firestorm. He has such a hand in the world. So does Romp, and where he's from, and he knows all that stuff. And Kat's, her character is actually her character is from campaign. From your group, she's playing Kithana, the warlock necromancer.
Oh,
Who's no longer a
Has
necromancer.
changed?
Because do you
Why?
remember what book she stole? So don't say it, but you remember the book she stole.
And I remember that I made a promise to her as my character.
And so does your kin.
Yep. It's like, hey, don't think we forget.
Yeah.
Because that is a fun fact about lizard folk. They
Right.
pass down their knowledge.
So I think where we go from here is that I don't think I would ever want to know the story, not the whole story. I would want to discover it as I'm playing. I feel like knowing the whole story for a lot of people is going to lead to a whole lot of either intentional or unintentional metagaming
Yeah.
to try and push the story in the direction you've been told it's meant to go. But also, it means that the ending isn't a surprise anymore.
Yeah, and a big part of this adventure is you make it your own.
Yeah.
It's shaped by all of your actions, and it's really hard to predict what happens because it's an RNG-based game. You could fail, or you could succeed, and it could change everything.
Absolutely.
So to know where it ends, it kind of spoils it, unless it is changed. Like, you could see a certain perspective that you're told this story, and through a couple of your actions, the story that you were told becomes completely invalid because of the actions that you took.
I can see that
Where it
being...
could have some merit.
I could see that being a really cool start to a story where you've told a prophecy. So
Exactly.
here's the prophecy, this is what's gonna happen. And then you get to the end game and everything's just like, wait, this is nothing like what I was
It
told.
doesn't even have to be
Like,
an end game.
I like that, but
You
I
would
don't
have,
know.
it'd have to be very...
You need to leave it vague still.
You could leave it vague, or you'd have to handle it very well.
Yeah.
Like, we'll go with the analogy of the prophecy. Say your party is this classic fabled adventuring group that's meant to do all these events that the prophecy states. But the prophecy is real.
Yeah.
Like, say your first task is to get a sword. And depending on how the DM wants to do it, when your characters get there, it could be gone.
Yeah.
Or it could not even be a sword. It could be like an ancient artifact that's not even a sword. And then at that point, you doubt everything else that happens at prophecy. It's like your characters are supposed to go here and retrieve this thing, but it's not what it says it is. It looks evil as hell.
Yeah.
And it could be a great to start to some political intrigue, or it could be a classic, like the one who told the prophecy is actually evil, like a twist situation. It has a lot of opportunity, and it could be evolved very well.
Yeah. I feel like it's so much harder to do though than maybe just giving a quick synopsis on like, this is what I hope to achieve in it. Like, this is the kind of I want to play a really gritty game where death is really final. There's no resurrection spells in this campaign. once you hit 0, there's no death saving throws. Your character dies.
Yeah.
Be careful with everything you do. Let's play.
Yeah, with
Like,
games like that,
I love
can't
that
set
kind
the
of a very short, very simple, very to the point explanation of what to expect in the game. But I don't think I'd ever want to know the story in advance.
Yeah.
Like, not the whole story. Sure, give me bits and pieces, maybe, but only things that have to be known. Or things that aren't especially overly important, maybe to your specific character.
but to the player,
Yeah.
it should be known.
Yeah.
Yeah, like such
Well,
as
like,
that mechanic.
So I have a lot of chats with Blake about potential like ends to the story, but like they're never specifically my character's end to the story.
It's just
It might be your character's ending, or like something that comes up with your character, or something comes that might be in the end of Maddie's character. But it's never like, oh yes, your like thing that you're gonna get to at the very end is gonna be this, and
And the other thing that we could go on with is, in the end, it might not even be that. It's hypotheticals.
Absolutely.
It's just brain. It's
Yeah.
shooting. It's like just ideas.
Yeah.
So, though you know these outcomes, you don't know if they are the outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, especially since the way that I run the game is nothing's written. It's all just as you play.
Which has pros and cons.
But we
Other
haven't.
than the you make a level 20 character that we're doing Tomb of Horrors, like
Yeah, there you go.
you can read up on it all you want. There is no way to get through that damn.
So, free to play asked a question. When you're playing the campaign and you and the party aren't enjoying the story, what do you do?
Talk to the DM
Yes.
straight away.
Each and every single time, tell the DM what you're not enjoying, so that you can work together to try and make it more engaging for a group.
Communication is always key, and it's very important to keeping a D&D campaign alive.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can't be resolved, but in the end, we're all human. Like, we can't get it right every time. But we can focus on making ourselves better for the next time,
Yes.
and hopefully that next time it won't go so badly. Or maybe it'll go great the first time and you keep doing it.
Well, one piece of advice I have for that as well isn't just also talking to you. Is there could be a lot of reasons why you're not enjoying it, and it might not. It might
It could be other players.
It could be other players. It could be yourself and making a character you didn't think you would.
Yeah.
And like character building can definitely ruin a game. It's because you've just built it. That's why I always like to run. Well, more recently, especially on the bigger sessions, I like to run little test sessions where you test out the character, so you can understand.
I built a character in campaign 1 that I messed up fundamentally with where I placed my stats and what I'd chosen for them.
And also like your personality.
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, I loved the mechanics of the character. This was my druid.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever.
No, I don't think I did.
No, that's fine.
Yes,
but
he
my
did.
druid,
He
I
did
loved
meet
the
Westfield.
Mechanics of what I wanted
The
the
Barracks
character
fight.
to do, but my stats, I kind of like didn't put them in the right places for what the idea kind of evolved into, and I was looking at them like, okay, well now I can't do this because I don't meet the multi-class requirement in that stat, which I realized that I wanted to do, or the character was really, really, really quiet and not knowing of what was going on, and so I kind of pigeonholed myself into a situation where I kind of had to be overly passive. So I didn't enjoy the character. I loved the character concept. I didn't like the character.
Yeah.
So I ended up retiring that character and made a new one. And he killed you. He killed someone else from your from your
That
party.
character.
Yeah.
I didn't know it's the druid.
No, that
was
wasn't
the
the druid. That
sorcerer.
was the sorcerer that I made after I retired the druid that I didn't like.
Oh.
Also, I just want to point out that Jacob, you have never been there for a major fight. You were not present for the Barracus fight. You were not. You were
I
not
was
present. You were
That's
not.
hilarious.
You were not present for the Razet fight.
Don't worry,
All of last campaign, you participated in the big long grinds that were.
Yeah.
I was there for
boss
like
fights.
basically everything else, though. Ironically,
Yes.
luckily though, I fixed that, and now I have every sense.
Just wait for your first
Forever.
6-hour boss
And
fight. They're
Fridays.
great fun.
Well.
Forever.
Yeah. No. It's very important to make sure that you, as a player, you look at it from all perspectives. Take you sit down. We've had one thing that you might not like is the fact that you like maybe the story's interesting, but getting railroaded.
Yeah.
Skipping forward when you haven't gotten to do things that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, just one thing that every DM needs to understand, and I say this so much because it's a real thing, is as a DM, when your players are doing fuck all and they're just messing around with each other and they're talking and maybe they're trying to do something, doesn't seem practical, it's not moving the story forward, let it happen for multiple reasons. One, they're having fun. Two, it gives you plenty of time to understand what they're doing.
I mean, honestly, if your players are role playing a situation in real time and you play a 2-hour session of 2 hours going by, that's probably the best session you'll ever get. You've not had to skip anything. It's been all fun, because if it wasn't, then the situation would have ended itself.
Yeah.
And that's what we come here to do. Have fun.
Yeah.
We're not here to get to the end of the story. We're here to have fun in the moments that we're in. Getting to the story is the bonus.
By the way, am I echoing when I have no idea if I am. But if I'm not, then I literally fixed the microphone problem.
Unless the problem is the fact that I break all the microphones.
Well, kind of. You're not really being picked up on mine.
This time.
Well, yeah. You're looking at mine and you're just being picked up on the one next to you.
Oh, I couldn't actually see it. Your arm was in the way. Okay.
Yeah. He's the second one.
Yeah.
That I am.
Oh, there you go. Maybe we have fixed it.
Ooh.
Well, you fixed it. Congratulations, Blake. You did it again.
I'm slowly becoming an audio engineer. I have no idea why, but
Oh.
if
No
peop-
echo.
Oh, lovely.
Woo!
Doritos.
Now we're just gonna translate this from that microphone to that.
Well, it might not be that. It might be the fact that that microphone will always echo. The one thing I'm just trying to understand is that we do test videos where I record the actual video, listen back sessions
And
live,
this is literally like 10 minutes before we go hit the go live button.
and then after we go live, I'm echoing. So I don't know if that's Twitch messing with us, because for people who don't know, and I'm about to like diss Twitch because currently we're on Twitch right now, is the fact that Twitch doesn't give you access to everything if you don't go. Which starting this Wednesday, we'll actually be multi-streaming. We will be going live on YouTube and at the same time. So if you want to see better quality where it's full HD, you YouTube,
We're currently on Twitch.
where it's going to be full HD and it doesn't cap us at 720, because you can click full HD on your device that you're watching us on, but it won't give you full HD from our end, even though we are recording on full HD cameras and stuff. It's just not going.
You'd want to see our beautiful faces in the cameras as we.
Oh wait, yeah, hold on,
have
found Twitch.
Yeah, as we just have existential crises as characters.
Yeah. So look, that may actually be what the main problem is. We'll find out once we do, because we're almost definitely going to watch those episodes back after downloading them through both services and seeing what the overall difference is. And if it does turn out that the settings we've got right now are perfect on YouTube but not on Twitch, then it's just how everything's being fed through the stream, through the server. And there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about the whole technical parts of it. Yes.
What the whole stream's about? What are you talking about?
I actually have a question for the two of you. Yes, it's Mike. As a inspiring DM,
They can't see your head.
I know, and as a new DM who has currently been, I'm really the only DM you have had a few other DMs.
I've had one other
Yeah.
for one
Yeah,
session.
yeah.
Yes.
But you have had another DM as well.
I've had a mix of DMs.
Yes. And you actually had the DM that I started with. And I almost fell over. That would have been a technical DM.
He nearly got into the camera shot.
I did. That DM that DMs for you, I learned so many things off by just watching him. And it turned me into the DM today because I watched his faults, but I also watched his... And trust me, he doesn't have many faults as being a DM. Fantastic.
Experienced.
Yes, he's been playing since... But the one thing that I keep telling a lot of people, because some people for some reason compare me to him, can't do that because you can never compare DM to DM. Everyone's different in that
Everyone's
way.
unique.
It's like player to player. You can't compare.
Like comparing two directors. They
Yeah.
do it in their own way because they're
Unless they're
different
literally the Russo brothers
people.
who direct together. But anyway, so as I tell them, is that we are two very different DMs. One way of knowing it is the fact that he is a very old school DM, and I'm very in the midst of things. I do risks in everything I'm, where he's all about the numbers and manipulation of what is presented. But that's a very 3-5 thing, where fifth ed is very different, as I've proven time and time. So my question to two of you, again, Jacob, you being new to entertaining the idea of DMing, only DMing so many sessions, and same with you, Jacob, doing the same thing, is
He's doing
this:
this on purpose.
as a new DM, what lessons have you learned from me and bad that from you guys playing my session and understanding of what I do has influenced you not do? That's it.
Like specifically you or just DM?
Me.
Yeah.
Me. Be honest. You can also name other DMs you have met. Just do not name them.
Yeah, I won't.
But
You
you
can
just
just don't name.
don't name them.
Hang on, I'm just gonna. I'm gonna just count the amount of DMs because I had one before
Oh,
the same one.
we're not going to talk about the same one's friend that started with a W, because that is not a DM.
That was that was my first ever experience of D&D, I should add, and I was still having fun, and I had no idea what.
But
was actually
now
happening.
you understand.
Now I understand. It's like, wow,
That was
I was
horrible.
I'm happy that I had fun.
Yes. But
Oh, in a sense.
but just lessons that you take away that you incorporate into your own style, or even change up, or things that you definitely watched like that and say, I will never do that because it's either unfair or I don't think I can do it. Stuff like that.
Well, it'd be a bit unfair to include that first one because a lot of the things he did I don't incorporate, and not a lot of people should. So discount that. But aside from that, everyone else, I can't really pick out a single situation because in the grand scheme of things, the golden thing overall is you're never going to get it 100%.
Yeah.
You're not going to have this golden experience where it's all clean and it's all good. You're gonna have slip-ups. There's gonna be accents. It's gonna be miscommunication. You're gonna mishandle things. Instead of just constantly beating yourself up about that, work to improve yourself. Look back at the situation, see what you could have done better, but don't get stuck on that. See, and just try to like
Move forward.
move forward.
I think you missed.
Reconcile and
Yeah,
move
I don't think I explained my question properly to you.
Oh,
I know. I
Yeah.
was.
You got
I have an answer to
Okay.
it. The thing I've learned from having you as a DM is that you improvise a lot more than I think I am capable of. And when I started DMing, I tried to not prepare as much as I feel like I probably should. And I left a whole lot of stuff unknown to then create it as we went. And I've realized that I'm a very reactive creator. I don't formulate things from scratch. I get the information that I'm given, and I'll give you a response from it. I can't get the question, "What's here?" and then go, "Oh, okay, create." And I think that's where I shine as a player, is that I can be given a situation, and then go, "Okay, well, I can do this, and this," just from getting a description of the scenario and what we're trying to do. As a DM, I can't get the question, "Okay, so I want to go into the shop, what's there?" Because my brain just stops. It does. It stops, and I go, hold on, what shop were we in again? Was this the magic item store? Shit, okay. And it brings the whole game to a halt. So I think what I've learned is that I need to prepare more in my games, and I need to prepare things before the session starts, so that when I'm asked a question of, what's in the store, I can go to my notes and say, okay, well, this is what I've planned out to be in this
Yeah, it's like
shop.
certain things that you can pull up if
Yes.
like store names, little short stories,
Character
areas,
names.
characters.
Oh my god, NPC names.
NPC names.
I can't name
Unexpected.
things to save my life.
My brain always goes to the most basic one. It's like,
Dave Joe. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, when I create NPC names, generally my brain's just like running through everything. I actually don't create the name until it's asked, and it's just literally say the first thing that comes out of your brain. It's like the town. When you said, "What's the next town?" I go, "I'd call it Brighton. I sold that mattress today." It's literally a mattress range called Brighton. Yeah.
See, I don't do that. When you go, yeah, what's the next town that we're coming up to? I go, that's right, I did say there was the next town. Shit. I know what the town you're going to is, because I've written that one. Why did I tell you there was one here? Doesn't work for me.
in looking back, that is true. I must certainly have picked up a couple of things from your campaign, Blake, about like the improvisation and how going with the flow is a good idea, but having a few things in the pocket is also pretty good. And I've been doing it for a little bit, and I'm starting to get in my own groove, because with every DM being unique. And I have to say that is probably one of the biggest things that has inspired me, just the able to weave things together. And and just refining it as it goes on.
Yeah. Because the funniest thing is that as a DM, I definitely tried writing out stuff. I tried writing out campaign storylines and stuff, but I didn't like have to follow it. I always liked the idea of Skyrim, where you could always like postpone it a story and then just go do another one
Yeah.
before you finish that one. So I, at the start of me DMing, I always wrote them out. And that's why I always said to you that when you guys started the Wednesday group, there were 6 stories. But the reason why I had to drop that idea, drop the idea of the 6 stories, and just say, hey, what happened if I just... And that's literally how all my games ended up running, because I had 0 time to play what I wanted, because I had 3 games I ran and worked.
I had that too.
And
But I think it works for you.
no, it does,
It's like-
because in my line of work, I was a talker. I had to speak every minute, every day, and even my current job, I am a talker, and like I'm a salesman, and then so I'm working while also running 2 games a day, while also doing all the editing. Well, not all the editing, thank God, but also all the creating stuff. And I still don't have prep time. You know, when I got asked for a map, I didn't make one. Are you kidding me? It's a small little town. That's why I said it's only got 20 houses. Do you know why? I didn't think that far ahead until I got asked. Now I kept that. But that's always the way I go, is that everything is generating walking. I know how big the place is because I have it on a bigger map, but I don't know what's on the island. If you go to Valak, Zendikar, Pride and Garth, all that stuff, yeah, I know what's on there. My players wrote it on the maps. That's how I'm going to remember that. My players literally wrote on the maps inside another room. But I enjoy the fact of making stuff up straight on the spot. When you ask me what's in the shop, every one of those items that you saw inside that armory place, made up then and there. As it was, like, I just said, what's a cool fact? Same with the magical items that Rob got. If he rolls a natural 20 on this short sword, the creature that he dealt damage to has to roll a Constitution saving throw equal to versus the damage, and if it fails, it's paralyzed for
a minute. Yep. Pretty sure what you told him was.
Oh no, it's still no. Oh no, it is starting to. Yeah, because it's only a rare item.
Which I also I had something I wanted to bring up about that. If this is a nat 20 hitting weapon, shouldn't it be the end of his next turn so he at least gets advantage on his next attacks?
No, because otherwise he can get stuck in a loop where he's constantly paralyzed with advantage.
On nat 20s?
Yes.
Because it's not on a critical hit, it's on a natural 20.
Yeah, I understand that. But I also just didn't want the possibility of that biting me in the ass.
Fair
So
enough.
as a DM, I said, how am I going to make this balance? This says it's weaker, but it's a better natural 20 ability than adding 7 damage.
Fair enough. Look, if he rolls that many natural 20s in a row, good on him, he deserves it. The way I feel it.
One thing I learned from the DM that you and I had played that I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed the traveling aspect of D. The part where you're not stuck in the same town.
You enjoyed it.
But I enjoyed the fact that I got to see new terrain and everything. Egyptian pyramids. That's why in your campaign, for you guys, you're seeing snow for the first time. Because I am reading a different game to get mechanics of blizzards down, so that way I can understand how to implement them fairly into this game, which isn't like random in stuff. It's actually like, but one thing that you are right is that you always want to be inspired, but also definitely mold just become your own. That's why I take a little bit of offense when it's the Wish version of Matthew. I even say it myself.
I'm pretty sure you brought that up the first time.
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, on camera.
On camera, I'm
Yeah.
the first one to say it, so that way that if anyone else says it, it's just a catchphrase of that.
Yeah.
But the reason is because I don't want being compared or pigeonholed as another DM. Like I get it. DMs can be very good, get compared to them. But every DM is different. They run their games different. The only way you're gonna know it is if you sit at the table and play the game. You might not like the DM. Like, perfectly said. You don't like the games, don't play them. And communication is key. If everyone else is enjoying the game, but you're not, don't be afraid. Talk to the DM.
Talk to the DM, but talk to the players.
Yeah, and say, hey, look, I'm not enjoying this as much as you guys. Is there anything that you can find out if there's a reason why you're not enjoying it, or is there anything that they can do to help? But yes, but as so you two are preppers.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Well, I say prepping, but it's more so just like you hear all these people say like they have this entire story of the place, like all these stores. I just have the bare basics.
yeah. So you're a session prepper.
Yeah.
So you go, okay, they're going to this town. Okay, let's find who runs this store. What is this? Okay, who are they going to see? What's their? That's what you are.
I wasn't always like that. It originally was straight improvisation. Words are hard. But as I get into it, I do prefer having a bit of thing. That way, I take that, and I can have an easier time expounding on it. It's like it's improvising with a base instead of just improvising from the get-go, and it helps a lot more. Like, instead of spending a few minutes describing the name, just trying to figure out a name, describe the appearance of it. Like, how it could be. Instead of coming up with the name of a blacksmith saying, like, Blackbeard's Smithery, you could say, the science is Blackbeard's Smithery, and you see a pirate motif.
Yeah, and it's...
You went from just describing the name in the same amount of time to describing the name and the appearance. It's just more.
It's like the green pencil armory.
Oh, I love that one. That threw us all for a loop.
Yeah. I made an armory, green pencil armory, and then I also made a library called the Iron Forge Library. One of the library made spell books using a forge, like an actual forge. It dipped books in lava and pulled them out after the spell was done. So that's how it encased it. And then the person that was in the green pencil actually drew the weapons.
That's sick.
And then just
Matches.
pull the weapon out.
I do have to admit,
it threw us all for a loop.
improvisation on the spot can get really cool ideas.
Yeah.
Like that blacksmith idea. I had not done that before, but with the name, I could go off the motif and so on and so forth.
Well, the thing is, about again improvising that type of stuff. There's a little thing that you can always, when the players are talking about, especially if they're really strong role players and doing it and they're really caught into the role play, it always gives you a bit of time to go, okay, I'm listening to you. Said you need to go to a right now. Where is that? What is that? And then that's where you have that there. That's why I said let them, because it gives you that moment to get ready for them.
It also gives you ideas for things that you can put in there.
Yeah. Well, another thing is as well is that I just don't rewatch the episodes, which I should. But yeah, my like Maddie, my partner, she says that she thinks I have like a photographic fucking memory or something, just because. Huh?
I get it.
I think so. I don't know. She goes, you can literally just, someone says a magic card and then you can find it within moments. Like you know where it is. And then she's like, also that someone can just show you a photo or someone could be speaking about something and you just go grab it, or like someone's talking about the story of the like everything else. It's like she thinks I have one of those. That's why I'm able to just not write any of this stuff generally. But I don't get it right all the time. There's a lot of it, and I go, oh, yeah. Well. But I don't think it is that. I think it's just I'm a creation of things. My surroundings was that I just had to become an improv DM. I love it. I love it to death. Not really prepping. The only thing I gotta really prep is like when you are going to a place that will have a map.
Like stuff.
I gotta make the map.
Or any little props that you actually have to hand over to. She's like, oh man, I'm gonna make something.
Yeah, but the different, like another thing is too, is that I'm a different type of prepper. I'm actually a visual prepper when it comes to that stuff. It's just because like I let my mind run. Whatever's coming out of my head is the story that's playing along with you guys. That's why I enjoy the format I do with you. Because when you guys are like, oh, we're gonna do this, it's like the time that the Balor showed up.
Yeah.
When you guys just finished fighting it, you rested for a day, and then it went to Zendikar, it went to Belith, and in Belith it was destroying the place, and you had to stay back and watch one of the dudes to make sure he didn't run off with the knife, and the other guys were like, what if the Balor's there? I literally turned was there to just watch the session because he was his partner's. They just got married, so congratulations, guys. But one thing was I turned to him and go, oh yeah, this, and then they walk through that, and then I explain that the floor is destroying the whole in town. Within 20 seconds of them speaking, that town was just destroyed. Like it wasn't destroyed before that.
Ways they provide though.
Yeah.
It is again letting your players just keep talking. And they go, oh, what if we're about to come up against this thing like it is now?
Yeah.
It's fun for the players as well, because it's like, hey, I was right. They were right.
Literally what I was about to say that, but it's not that actually. It's deceiving because there's two different versions of what you're talking about. There's the, hey, I'm right, and there's the, hey, I made you right.
Yeah.
Right? It's because there's a difference. There's the one where you guys found out Father Torin was bad, and then did all that. Yep, he's a bad guy, and I never changed it. I was like, yeah, you guys were right from the start. And then there's the times where it's like, hey, guess what? You were right. The Balor is there. Because your players, their theories are always going to be better than yours. You are one mind. They are 4 to 5 to 6 of them.
Also, they're coming up with their theories after playing and immersing themselves in the world. What you're coming up with is outside of the world, because you're thinking about it and going, oh, this could be cool or that could be cool. But when they're experiencing and going, I bet it's the Balor, it's there. You're like, shit.
It makes
sense. That is so much easier than what I came up with.
Yeah, and it also makes sense to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it makes sense, then there's no reason for it not to be that.
Can I really buy followers?
Maybe. So my question for you then, Blake, is have you constantly been asking us what the creature in this town is, because you know you don't want it to be the Yeti, but you don't know what you want it to be yet?
Oh no, I know 100%. If you'd like to know, I know 100% what it is. You guys won't like it. You, Jacob.
Lovely.
It's Jacob, because you can't see him looking at Jacob.
Jacob.
Sorry.
I won't like it, apparently.
No, you don't. It to you, it might be a lot like the Sturges moment.
Okay, gotcha.
Where you might turn around and you go, oh.
The fuck are you doing? Yeah, that's fair.
What's this?
This is payback from my campaign. Well, my 3 sessions. Lovely.
I know.
That's a
organize
lovely
stuff.
thought to have for this week.
Sorry. It's all my fault.
Nah.
Hey,
No,
I've left you with guys with like worse thoughts.
Oh, probably.
People quit my sessions because it got too much,
Yeah.
like mentally.
I
for
don't
them.
understand that. Then again, I don't.
I think it's more or less the fact that I always say that always put a bit of yourself into your character.
That being said, I don't think I have ever quit something because it got too hard. Apart from playing musical instruments, I could just never get around to, like, working that out properly. But like, no, I could never see you just dropping things on us time and time again, and not just being like, "This is sick."
Yeah, we're all different people. We all react to things differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing that I think you guys haven't realized though is the fact that the first town you went to was getting terrorized. You guys dealt with it. Next town you also the exact same. It's literally a rinse and repeat. So, what is the? Is it like maybe you just maybe that I'm auto leveling quite the biggest because you think this is gonna be big. No, it's like I need a higher level. That's never the
I need
case.
you to be a high level, but you didn't fight the Yeti that I put in front of you, so fuck you guys.
Well, that was a test of the reason why also that you guys get experience too is because you didn't murder hobo.
Yeah. See, that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up as the topic.
Well, the
Because
topic
it's
still
so
exists.
easy to just go, you know what? What if we just kill the monster? What if I don't want to kill the monster?
Exactly.
What if I'm trying to make a pacifist character? Huh? Like, you know.
Bart, no, stop that.
Oi.
Oi.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely something that you can reward people for in ways that are interesting in its own right. Because, I don't know, I've played the campaign now where we literally just killed everything we came up against.
Yeah.
And not in a murder heavy way, we weren't killing everyone in town, but
It-
like,
Well, we
all-
had to be
literally
killing
all
these
of
things.
the things that we came up against, we killed.
Yeah.
Other than Steve, but Steve was awesome, so we didn't kill Steve. Yeah,
There was only a few situations where
very, very few
negotiation
things.
was an option.
Yeah,
But with this new campaign, it's like you can tell it's there.
yeah,
Like especially with the bandits.
yeah.
Who knows? If we had handled that situation a bit better with the persuasion checks, we could have like completely diffused it.
Okay, look, I just want to point out that if Maddie and Dylan didn't run through and take the dude out after the fighting had been stopped, then we probably wouldn't have gotten into that situation.
Probably. Well, it's just how it went. Oh,
I blame them too, and they're not here to defend themselves, so I'm right. So,
they're not here, so I'm right.
yeah, but like that 100% could have just been a situation that was done there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think the character that I've built leans a lot more towards we don't have to fight it. And I sort of did that on purpose because it's a new and different way of playing the game that is very different from the characters that I built for the last campaign.
Oh yeah.
But I'm also really enjoying it.
I know what you.
I'm not hating it in the way that when I built my druid, I was very pacifist.
Yeah.
I will fight things if they attack us, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to circumvent the fight.
It's a similar trope, but you've adjusted it.
I've adjusted it so it's more fun for me.
Yeah, know you'd enjoy it. I know how you feel because two very similar aspects of both of my characters is their lack of knowledge to the world of the inside. One a lot more obvious than the other because at least with Hex, he doesn't have prior experiences, while Strix does.
Yeah.
Like before, he grew up in a tribal thing, so he knew how to fight. He knew situations, and he knew what he was gonna do. But with Hex, I both intentionally and unintentionally let him be like this, pretty much like played out, be molded by those around him. And with how it's going, he's probably gonna be along the lines, but as he gets more developed as a character and as a person, he will eventually start like seeing things how he sees things.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, he's
Okay.
following a lot of things you guys are doing.
So I want to bring that up actually, because you're playing this character in the way that I feel like Jordan should have played one of his his character when we played 3.5.
Oh,
He had a very similar backstory in that he didn't know that he was magical. But the difference was that he built it as absolutely like a meme character, because we didn't know where this was going when we were starting out. We were trying D&D.
yeah.
Like Blake had obviously played a lot beforehand, so had Rob and Arthur, but myself and Jordan, we hadn't played yet. I knew a lot about the game from a very broad sense.
Yeah.
And Jordan came in as like sure, I'll give it a go. It gives me an opportunity to go and hang out with the guys.
Yeah.
So his character was Steve from accounting, or Dave from accounting, or whatever. And his backstory was that this world, like that we were in, the world in D&D, was a dream of his. That's what he thought. So he had this whole other life outside of this world, and he was brought into it. And so he didn't know he was magical. He had spells and yada yada yada, but he never chose to use them himself. He left it up to Blake to decide when he was doing a spell or an effect or whatnot. And then what happened was he just kind of played the character with this is all a dream, so none of it matters.
Yeah.
If I die, I wake up. And so he went through the game not taking it too seriously, but also not really contributing. Because he was like, yeah, no, it's fine. And then he'd do something stupid, and then Blake trying to, keep the story running rather than have it all just end for his character right there, would go, okay, well, I guess you have to have like a magic surge now, where you cast a spell unknowingly, and like it allows you to just like survive this round right here, and then hopefully he'll pick up on, oh, I did that, let's learn how to do it.
Yeah.
But he never did. He then just reverted back to, it's a dream, it's fine, it doesn't matter. And so I feel like you're playing that character, but in a way that is able to, one, progress the story, and two, progress the character.
Yeah.
In that the first time you cast a spell was totally up to you, and you flavored it how you wanted, but you cast Dissonant Whispers, and you said, I'm casting Dissonant Whispers like this.
As a player, I made a deliberate action.
That's right.
Because
So you left your backstory to play, but you're not leaving your character agency up there.
Yeah.
You're playing the character, but you're allowing everything about your history to be out of your hands, and you're progressing your character in such a way that after you started using Dissonant Whispers, and after I saw what you did to Zephyr in the bar, I was like, oh my god, this guy does magic. Which, in the battle with the bandits, I kind of played it off as I wasn't paying too much attention to any one person. We were in a fight. So I didn't want to go, oh, yeah, look, he did something there, like in that one round of combat, that one time.
Yeah.
But after you did it right in front of me, sitting in the bar, I went, he just cast a spell. This guy's got magic. Let's see what we can do with it. And so it brought out try and do this and that. And you very well could have just been like, yeah, nothing happens. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. But you would have made that decision. You did decide to cast a spell. But you very well could have gone, yeah, okay, I'm like imitating you, like as you've been doing the whole time, but nothing's happening.
Yeah.
But that would have been your choice, which I feel like puts the character in your own hands. You're not waiting for someone else to say, okay, now do it.
Yeah.
You're going, yeah, okay, I want to do it because this seems like a good time. Or it's not the right time, so I'm not going to do it. I don't know what the rest of your spells are. You could have changed them from when we did our
little test
session. You could have gone, you know what? It was kind of cool, but it didn't make sense. So let's swap it to something else that might be better.
Yeah.
I know you know Dissonant Whispers and Eldritch Blast. Everything else is a complete mystery. And to your character, everything else is a complete mystery. But you'll roll that out as you feel it's necessary, which I'm really, really, really enjoying about your character.
How I'm going about this character is I look to how I played Strix.
Yeah.
He was very straightforward, very kind of a single-minded. He was a joking character, not like a joke character. He had serious moments, and he was a serious character, but it was like he was the light-hearted.
Yeah.
There's some moments of, man, this guy is a lizard and he does not understand our customs.
You built him to be somewhat comic relief.
Yeah.
But
not
it was
just
still
comic.
a character.
Yeah.
Well, you can build a character that's nothing but comic relief, but as long as you're actually playing the character and progressing the character, and maybe they learn that not everything is a joke. You could 100% build that character and it'd be really easy to, you max out your charisma as high as quickly as possible. You're like, haha, yeah, that guy just died, didn't he? And it's like, it becomes a character arc, though. It's not, that's the character I built, so that's the way they're going to stay forever. Or even for the foreseeable future. You could be two sessions in and go, wait, hold on, that went a bit far. And it's growth. If your character doesn't grow, I don't think you played them.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted in the new character, Hex. I basically took the idea of the character evolving in their personality, in their outlook on everything, and their ability to the extreme.
Yes.
And hence the amnesia.
Yeah.
It was literally, it's a very easy way of doing it, and I could do it more complex. He could have like story, but maybe for another day.
Yeah.
But it was literally starting from absolute zero.
Yeah. You took a blank character sheet and went,
Pretty much.
hey, I'm going to use Dissonant Whispers. Oh, wait, what classes can do that? Warlock, cool, let's put that in too. Like, it's almost how you started the character.
Almost. And I wanted to use this as a great way to get into this character.
Yeah.
Get into just
and kind of, I guess, let the character build themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, throughout this campaign, I aim Hex to be constantly evolving with this situation. And Blake has asked on occasion with, how everything went, when he nearly died to the bandits and then the hill giant, is how would Hex see future situations?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of incorporating. Both fights Hex has had, he's gone down. He got hurt and nearly died.
Yeah.
So he's quite afraid to fight something.
Okay.
He's not to the point where he will absolutely avoid fighting, because he sees everyone else around him wanting to fight.
Yeah.
In the case of the bandits, there was the predecessor of them bullying him.
Yes.
And he didn't really care at all, because he didn't really care.
Yeah.
It was just people pestering him. He didn't want to be a bother. He wanted to just keep going. And then he saw your character, and Dylan's character, and
Maddie's character.
Maddie's character.
It's getting late.
Yeah. defend him and see that I shouldn't stand up. And then when it came to the fight, I was like, all right, I'm going to defend myself.
Yeah.
He could have just left. He could have just ran away.
Yeah.
But he wanted to stay. He saw that what these people were doing were bad people. So he fought and lost.
Yes.
He tried, but he did lose. But that's not... This one situation isn't going to break him.
Honestly, I kind of feel like the fact that we lost that fight may have been the best thing for your character. If you just won it straight out, like, where do you go from there? Do you just get egotistical and like, oh yeah, cool, I won.
That's
like,
the thing.
I kind of feel like losing that fight for your character specifically was fantastic.
It could be. Honestly, I don't know how this character would end up. There are ways I would. Like, I was like, oh, I'd really like it if this situation happened, but there's no guarantee. And I don't necessarily want it to be set in stone. I want it to be free fluid. I want this character to evolve as much as possible. So I'm trying to take every situation and add it. So, as I said before, with him losing twice, he's becoming more hesitant. It's not this happened once, therefore it changes me forever. That situation hasn't quite happened yet. Because he's still fresh, he's still kind of like getting into things, so not quite there. But with these two early situations, it is shaping him, and if it keeps going on like that, if he keeps like getting into fights, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be like everyone going down or some people going down, but if he keeps going down, if he keeps getting hurt severely, or his friends, you guys keep getting hit severely, because in both ones, Dylan's character went down, he got hurt bad, he nearly died.
Yeah.
And your character got hurt the first time around, and it's like, these fights, if we can't assure that we win, we could get hurt, and we are getting by just barely.
Yeah.
And he's obviously kind of drawing a line between fights and getting hurt.
Yeah.
So if we win this next fight, it might inspire a bit more confidence, but that's not going to be every fight.
If you go down in this next fight,
He's going to be even
do
more
you
hesitant.
think this is going to push Hex into a position where he's like, I don't want to get into that position. Like, let's say hypothetically we have the exact same situation happen again. We go, we do this, we do the fight, we win the fight, but you go down.
Yeah, and like,
And then the next town we go to is being attacked by a monster.
Yeah.
Like, if that situation happens exactly like that, are you then gonna go, guys, no, like, enough? Is that
in this situation? If you noted, he was already quite hesitant.
Yeah.
But he saw that you guys wanted to help.
Yeah.
So he's going along with it. But if it keeps like ending up in the same situation, he is gonna start like voicing like, we keep getting into these fights and we keep dying, and I'm not.
Do you think it would happen like that though? Like if that situation,
if it does happen, that is kind of where it's gonna go.
Very next fight be the one where you go, guys, no, seriously, seriously, no.
If he can,
he
will suggest. Like, he's not gonna outright say, "No, I'm not doing this." He's gonna say, I don't want to do it. It's a progressive. Going
okay,
into
so
this.
You think it'd take at least a couple?
It's not like I got hurt, I don't want to do this again.
He's gonna keep going.
Way. Yeah,
I could see that happening either way. Like, obviously, this one's already happened, and you were slightly hesitant.
Yeah.
I could see if you were to go down in this fight, we get to the very next town, there's a monster attacking you, go, no.
Yeah.
I could see it. Like, I was very curious about that. You reckon it'll be, you'll take it as a bit of a slower progression, though?
It will be a slower progression. Yeah. Unless it's like a pivotal moment, like a big moment, where it could be a death, permanent maiming, any sort of these things.
Yeah.
But we don't know until it happens.
Absolutely.
Like, who knows? If we get through this situation perfectly, like we don't get hurt, the creature's dead, we save the town, and the next few situations, his view might change a little.
Yes.
Like he had a.
You're basically playing it on a slider.
Yeah, he's first couple times he had bad experiences, but it's because he was inexperienced.
Yes.
He hadn't really fully understood that he had magic.
Yeah.
But as he's going into these new hypothetical combats, getting better at it, and now he has the understanding of oh, it wasn't because I was bad, it's because I was inexperienced.
Okay.
So he would be more willing to help.
This is the first fight that you're going into with the 100% knowledge of I did those things, I can cast magic.
Yes. So he is currently he is trying to like see if he can do anything else.
Yeah.
So that might be like provocation for new spells.
Yeah.
But at the current, he knows he can do 2,
Yeah.
and he knows
Well,
he
even
can
just
help.
in that, like when we fought the giant, you cast Dissonant Whispers. But I'm pretty sure at that point you still didn't understand.
He still didn't fully
You did it, did you?
How I portrayed it is in these high stress situations.
Yeah.
It's his body and his subconscious
Yeah.
forcing these powers out to help him
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah.
But now that he's understanding that that's there, he's trying to harness it,
Yeah.
and hopefully eventually he will.
Okay.
So it's a organic. Even when Dylan mentioned the connection to the dagger,
Yeah.
beforehand he didn't know why the dagger was so important.
Mm-hmm.
He knew it was one of the only things he had when he woke up, so he knew it was important then.
Yeah.
But he now understands that when he uses his magic, there is a connection to this thing, and that means this is a key to understanding more of the magic, more of what could have happened to him, and what could it lead to.
Yes.
That's why that's his hook. That's why he wants to investigate the dagger, and you guys are helping him do that.
Yes.
So obviously, the bond between you guys and Hanks is already strengthened,
Yes.
and I don't. It's just gonna keep going, and at the current point, he's very curious because brand new mindset, never seen these things. He has inklings of what he knew, like such things as like the tapping,
Yeah.
little habits that he had in his past life that have carried over through like just muscle memory, and more will come into play.
Yeah.
And with these, he'll start to go into a new personality, or maybe his old personality. He himself won't know until he learns the truth.
Yeah. Very cool.
And
Alright.
me, and you guys.
Alright. I'm enjoying the progression of this character, so
It is very good and refreshing, isn't it?
it is.
Well, I think it's getting a bit late now.
I was about to say that.
Even though we changed the format of how this podcast work, we don't have an exact finish time. It used to be like, oh, we finished at this time, then do this. But now we just go on until right? I think the time is right to end the session for tonight.
Yes.
So we're going to raid somebody who has 1 viewer. So yeah, Twitch does this weird thing where it only shows you 3 viewers, but if you actually go into users, you see that you have a lot more people watching than it shows.
Ooh.
Again, that's a whole nother thing about us not being affiliate. Anyway,
But thanks for joining us. Thanks
Yeah.
for your questions and engaging with us in chat.
Thank you very much for joining. I've been the special co-host or guest or whatever you want to call it at this point.
Oh, mate.
little does he know he's actually just replacing me.
Look, that's how it started. You could just be here every Monday now.
I could.
And you seem to have enjoyed it enough to come back every
Oh,
Monday.
it's
So
fun.
you might just be the new host.
Special appearance.
Hell, I might be gone next time and we'll bring in Jordan. And we'll just have someone from a completely different group
I
join.
haven't actually.
It might happen.
I haven't interacted with the other group like
Exactly.
at all, pretty much.
There you go. You never know.
Well, I guess we'll see you next Monday then.
We will see on the next week's
I think
Technical
he'll be
Difficulties podcast.
Alrighty, guys.
Thank you. Catch us Monday 8:30, Wednesday, Friday 8:30 for our D&D sessions. Catch us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. We will be multi-streaming as of Wednesday, so you can view us on either platform.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think that's it.
pretty much should be. Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.